From Mamma Mia, welcome to The Spill, your daily pop culture fix. I'm Laura Brodnick.
And I'm Ksenia Lukic.
And coming up on the show today, the Grammy nominations are out for 2026. We have some very good surprises. We have some very disappointing snubs. We have a little bit of drama brewing, so we're going to get into that. Plus, we have to talk again about Kim Kardashian's show All's Fair because it has premiered to a huge amount of controversy and then maybe a bit of redemption on Kim's side. But I think there's a bigger story brewing behind the scenes that we have to talk about. But first, so this did happen last week. Jonathan Bailey, star of Wicked, star of Bridgerton, I nearly said star of my heart, but maybe that's too much.
I think this is valid. It's valid.
Fair. I've never felt so weirdly parasocially proud of a sexiest man alive. Like when I heard the news last week, I was just thrilled I was thrilled like he was my brother or my friend or something.
I actually squealed when I saw it because I was so excited. I had the same reaction. Like whenever I've seen the other sexiest men alive, I've never been this excited about it.
Yeah.
And there is definitely a reason for that.
Yes, I think it's just like the overall general love that people have for him. Plus, after the whole John Krasinski debacle last year, I feel like the sexiest man alive title was feeling a little bit dull. Because the thing is, like people always say like it should be this person, it should be that person, but the person has to agree to it. And that's always the catch. Like a lot of really big stars, especially the ones who see themselves as very serious actors, don't want to do sexiest man alive and do the cover story and do the photo shoot and do all the interviews. So Jonathan Bailey saying yes, I think was such a good sport. And especially because it's happened during the Wicked press tour. So we had all the visuals of him telling his castmates and their reactions to it.
I know, I absolutely loved it. And I think probably my favorite was Jeff Goldblum's reaction because it's really special. Let's have a listen.
There's nothing sexier than progress.
Progress?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because, me being sexy, the first gay man to be sexy man.
Oh, yes. That is progress. Absolutely. I call him Bailey's Cream. Bailey's Cream.
If you leave me out, I curdle.
Oh my God, you leave me out.
Cute?
I curdle. It's so cute.
I love he's like, progress,
Yeah.
Jeff. That's the most serious I've ever seen him because usually those who interview together are just off the rails. Like everyone I know who's interviewed them, like they just don't give a full answer. They're always laughing together. But that was really sweet.
Jeff Goldblum has the most amazing energy when he talks to people, and he's got that really big the arms, and he's always like, oh yes. And just how genuine he was. He was so confused by it.
Yeah.
But it is. He's the first openly gay man to win Sexiest Man Alive, which is definitely a huge thing because so often in early Hollywood, gay men were stopped from coming out because it would hinder their, being marketable as like leading men. So it is actually progressive, even though it is kind of a silly thing to be.
Yeah, I still think it's important to point that. And I think that he's really feeling like I know he just said the weight of sexy people, but he's also probably feeling the weight and like the specialness of being this kind of first openly gay leading man who's been celebrated across Hollywood as both being like people talk about him being a gay man, how special that is, but also being able to play a straight role. Because that was always the thing of people saying like, you've got to pick a lane, like you've got to be one or the other. So seeing him be known as like a romantic leading man, but also playing all these other parts as well is really cool. Did you read the interview that went with his photo shoot?
I did.
There were so many moments in there. I'm just like, I feel like we're talking about the sexy photos and like the sexy him, but there were so many parts where he was talking about like when he was talking about what made him cry the last time and like what gets him really emotional. And I thought it was going to be something from the Wicked tour because obviously they're touring now for the last time with the new movie coming out. But he was talking about how close he is to all his sisters. He's got a lot of sisters and they all have kids. And he's like, oh, my oldest niece got made Pupil of the Week at school. And he's like, and I just teared up because that's so special and she's the next generation. I was like, stop it, Jonathan Bailey.
I know. He's such a proud little uncle. I know.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like you get that too because you're a very proud auntie.
Yeah, it is when that's like a huge part of your personality, it just seeps out all the time. The other thing I wanted to point out with this is like, I know we've all been talking about Jonathan Bailey and the sexiness of him, and that's so important.
Very valid.
Breaking
very
news
valid.
and so important to talk about. But I don't know if people realize that People magazine out there doing the Lorde's work also did a Sexiest like week where they teamed up a bunch of sexy reunions with male heartthrobs of iconic TV shows.
Yeah.
This was so important to
me. Why
is
no one talking about this?
This is like Stop the Press is important. Well, people are talking about it in a way of like some of the clips were getting pulled, but I guess like, it's fair enough. John Bailey's sexiness is all encapsulating. Like I feel like it was almost too much. It was too much for one magazine
Too much
issue.
sexiness.
It was too much for Laura Brodnick, let me tell you. These are all my favorite things. They had a bunch of different male actors from iconic TV TV shows team up to have a reunion where they just talked about the fandom of their TV shows, their characters, and how much people love them. So you had Friday Night Lights stars Zach Galifianakis and Scott Porter team up. We also had, this was so important, Chad Michael Murray and James Lafferty from One Tree Hill. Have you watched One Tree Hill?
Don't get mad at me.
It's okay.
I'm scared.
Can I just say,
I wasn't a big One Tree Hill fan, but I do love Chad Michael Murray.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Cinderella story.
Important.
Very, very important part of my life.
Freaky Friday, all the
Great.
hits.
Oh, my God. Iconic.
Yeah. And what I love too is that all these actors are all in their 40s now. And so they're at a stage where they're so happy to talk about the shows that made them like really famous as teens in a really endearing way that they didn't want to do early in their careers. So I will also say that One Tree Hill is one of those teen dramas that holds up on a rewatch today. Not completely, but it's still a really interesting watch. If anyone hasn't watched it, there's like 8 seasons of just crazy teen drama perfection. It's so good. But they were asked about their show and they took it so seriously because it's Chad Michael Murray and James Lafferty. On the show, they play these half brothers who were rivals in high school and grew up not knowing each other and then become best friends. And they both have these like very iconic love stories. And they were asked about which of the love stories was better. And they both decided it was the Nathan and Haley, which I love. Fans of One Tree Hill will get that. We also
That's gone straight over my head. Sorry.
That's okay. Fans of One Tree Hill will just be like, we get it. Like, read the full article for all the, fandom stuff there. Here's another one that won't mean a lot to you, but I think you'll...
No. I know, and I'm going to set this up for you.
Yeah.
There was one particular duo that would have been very, very special to you, and anyone who is a fan of the pod will understand the excitement of Laura describing this particular throwback couple.
Yeah, well, not just me, all Gilmore Girls fans, because the stars they took from Gilmore Girls were Jared Padalecki, who plays Dean, and Matt Zuckery, who plays Logan. So obviously they are part of, if you're not across Gilmore Girls, weird of you, but anyway,
but
that's
they're not the main like guys in Gilmore Girls.
Oh no, they are. So the whole thing about Gilmore Girls is like, yes, it's actually meant to be a 3-generational story of 3 women, which it is. Like that's the main focus. But also Rory Gilmore, one of the leads, has 3 main boyfriends throughout the show. So Milo's one, right? Jared Padalecki plays Dean, who was her first high school boyfriend, revisited in later seasons. And her second boyfriend, Jess, played by Milo Ventimiglia. Matt Zuckery plays Logan, who is her boyfriend through college.
Okay.
And through the later parts of the show. And there's always been this huge thing with the fans of which boyfriend is the best, which boyfriend should have ended up with Rory. It's such a contentious, huge issue that Alexis Bledel will not speak on it. Like, don't ask her. And then Lauren Graham, who plays Lorelai Gilmore on the show, said she will never give an answer to that question because it gets the fans too riled up. When she was interviewing Kelly Bishop on stage, who plays her mum on the show, Emily Gilmore, she answered, and Lauren Graham's like, will you just take your life in your own hands like that? Why would you say it?
Okay, but what's your thought on it? Who do you think she should have ended up with?
I actually don't even know if I have a real answer for that. I think after watching Gilmore Girls A Year in the Life, I wanted her to end up with Jess. I feel like that is
and totally. He was definitely really good to her.
Yeah. I'm Dean's out. I love how you just jumping in with the knowledge that you have on that. Dean's a hard no,
just
although I don't hate him as much as other people do. I was all in on her and Logan when they got together, but I think maybe if the show did come back, which I don't think it's going to, but I would love to see Rory and Jess
What about
get back
the hot
together.
cafe man? Isn't there the man that owns the cafe?
Yeah, there's no question there. That's Luke and Lorelai.
Okay,
yeah.
See, I know some stuff.
Yeah, 100%. So when they asked, you know some stuff. I actually think you should watch it because you would like it.
I've watched like a couple of episodes of it. I'm just not really. The passion you were showing right now is infectious. So it's making me want to watch it.
Literally all I care about. I just pretend I have other stuff for work. Anyway, so Jared Padalecki was asked who should Rory have ended up with, and he said, and this is so contentious because Dean, his character, hates this character. He said, I'm team Jess, funnily enough. He said, just knowing the show and having some idea of where Rory was in her life, they were all flawed. Let's be clear. Yeah, they definitely were. Well, he is, I'll say Dean was flawed, but they all had their issues. But today I'm team Jess. And then Matt, who plays Logan on the show, says it's kind of changed for me over the course of time. But then he decided to stick with his own character and said, I could really see Logan coming back and being with Rory, but it would just be in a completely different place in his life. Now, Take of that what you will.
I feel really bad because I don't have a lot to add to this particular.
I just think the cute takeaway I think is something that you would get is that these are just men who are like, again, well into their 40s now, playing all these other iconic characters. They both had huge TV shows, The Resident, Supernatural, Walker, Texas Ranger, all these big shows. But they're just sitting down and talking very endearingly about these characters that started their careers just for the fans.
And because, it's nice. People love nostalgia. We love nostalgia.
Yeah, exactly. So they're all the sexy reunions that came with Sexiest Man Alive. And I just thought it was important to highlight. It's just been a sexy week.
It's been a very sexy week. So, Laura, the Grammy nominations are out and we've got some serious snubs here, but there's also some really nice surprises. Let's start off with like the main ones and then we can kind of go into some of the ones that were the most surprising. Kendrick Lamar, not surprising. He's basically got 9 nominations, top nominee of the whole night. He's actually won 22 Grammys since 2015 and he only needs 4 more to become the most awarded rapper in Grammys history. The first is Jay-Z, who has 25. So that's awesome. Kendrick Lamar, very, very talented. We've got Lady Gaga and Sabrina Carpenter, who are also leading nominations in those sort of key categories, which is the Record of the Year, Album of the Year, and Song of the Year. Can I ask you, do you know what the difference is between Record of the Year and Song of the Year?
Yeah, is Record of the Year, I'm probably not going to explain this well. So Song of the Year is just the actual song, right? But Record of the Year, is that more celebrating like the team around it and the production? Yes.
Yes. I thought it was, I just had to double check that because I've seen so many people be like, what the hell is the difference between these two?
And I'm sure there's not like, I feel like in that industry and the people who are in it, like the difference is huge, but to the casual bystander, you might not know. But yeah, song is the actual song and then it's the production.
And like the songwriter and who wrote it and all of that sort of thing.
So sound mixing and all that sort of stuff.
That's why it's still one of like the biggest categories. They've basically taken a sweep of all of those major categories. But there are some serious shocks in this and ones that I think really speak to the politics behind the Grammys a little bit. Yeah. So Lorde, first of all. So Lorde didn't get a single nomination for Virgin.
That is so wild to me.
So Virgin was super critically acclaimed. It was her first album since like 2021. People are really pissed off about this one.
Yeah, and I guess like it's so hard because all of these creative award industries are so subjective. And it's like the Oscars. I think Oscars is just a bit more outright with who they favor and like how a campaign will get you a nomination. So getting the right people on side, spending the right amount of time with voters, having the right amount of also the amount of money you put into your campaign. And I think the Grammys is like that to an extent too. It's very much about like who you know and who you're campaigning with. And like it has come out that like there are just some singers who either shunned because the people in the Recording Academy are just, I guess, not people they schmooze or interact with. It could come down to the money behind their campaigns. Like it is so subjective.
It feels the Recording Academy feels to me quite catty because they really seem to hold grudges. So the theory behind her not getting any nominations is that because back in 2018, her LP Melodrama was nominated for Album of the Year, but the Recording Academy didn't ask her to perform on the night. Now, that seems like a small thing, but when you compare it to the fact that every other artist who was nominated in that category was given a performance slot, and then she seemingly kind of took a dig at them when she took out this one-page ad in a newspaper, saying, thanks everyone for supporting women in music. So there's this theory that they kind of maybe are holding a bit of a grudge on
and
that.
I do believe that is true because many people have said that any musicians who say anything against the Recording Academy or the Grammys, even if they're just saying on behalf of a fellow artist, can feel the repercussions of that for years to come.
And our second example of that is The Weeknd.
Yes.
So again, another artist who has had a very, very sort of checkered past with the Recording Academy. So he basically boycotted the Grammys for like 4 years. He returned this year, so back in February of 25, and he performed, and it kind of seemed like he was letting it go. It's done. We're brushing it away. I'm moving on. But he didn't get any nominations this year, which is crazy to me because he did actually call them corrupt, which I was
going to say, he didn't just insinuate it. He didn't take out an ad or anything like that. He put out like a full statement that is one of the most damning things I've ever read about the Grammys. And I think for a lot of people, if you're not super across, it was the first time you just really realized how volatile that situation was and how many artists had a problem with it and who had been left out over time. Because, he called it corrupt, and dirty dealings and like people holding against him and taking out artists and all this sort of stuff. And it was this huge thing where a lot of people expected all these big Grammy winning artists to share it, and then many of them didn't, because they all know if they kind of put a foot wrong with the Recording Academy or with the Grammys organizers, then they'll be punished for years to come. And everyone was like, well, if he's doing that, he's just kind of making a statement that he will never interact with the Grammys again, and he must feel, and I guess also he's one of the biggest artists in the world, so if like he can sustain his own career without the Grammys, which I do think is true. But then him performing this year was such a huge thing.
Yeah.
But I do wonder if he knew, and the organizers, I feel like there was this sense when he was up on stage performing, everyone was like, this is kind of nice, but not enough. Nothing will make up for that statement.
It's almost like he's tried to bury the hatchet a little bit, but it's not been enough. And it feels a bit more snubby because he's kind of tried to extend an olive branch, so to speak, and he's been snubbed again. So that one is super interesting. One that is really good though is Bad Bunny.
Yeah, that was fun.
Oh my God, I love him so much. I just think he's the sweetest. I basically fell in love with him more on SNL than I have with anything else. Like his acting, him doing that Shrek bit was one of my all-time favorite things. You know, he's obviously performing at the Super Bowl. He was nominated for 6 awards, and his album DTMF is nominated for Album of the Year. It's only the second time that a Spanish-speaking album has been nominated in that category. And the first time was also him. So it's really
exactly.
great.
Yeah, if all these people being like, oh, he shouldn't be headlining the Super Bowl, he's not big enough. I mean, I have other ideas of who potentially should be making, headlining the Super Bowl halftime show, but I don't think he's a bad choice. Well, I don't think it's a bad choice of when people are saying like he's not well known enough. He definitely is well known enough.
Definitely. One more that I really, really love is Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande.
Yeah, that was the one I wanted to talk about because they found out while they were doing press for the new Wicked movie. So they were staying there together, and then you just hear like Cynthia Erivo be told about her Grammy nomination, and Ariana Grande just drops to the floor. And I love them. So I love the dramatics of this press tour. Obviously, it's not going to be the same as the first one because
we're not holding space.
You
for
can't.
that.
Yeah, exactly. You can't sort of recreate that moment. But I was just like, oh, I've missed you gals and your crazy antics because Ariana Grande just falls to the floor and like starts bowing to her.
They're just such theatre kids. I just love it so much.
And Cynthia's so shocked and they're all just so happy and it was really sweet.
So one of the reasons why this is such a shock is because they were nominated for, I think, 3 awards, but Defying Gravity was in the Best Duo Group Performance.
Yeah.
And that's typically a pop category. So they're alongside like Apata and Golden. So that's why it's unusual.
Yeah.
But I'm so here for it because Defying Gravity is one of the most incredible songs. And I don't know if you saw those showcase clips of the Wicked showcase that they did, and Cynthia Erivo singing Defying Gravity, hanging from the air in a harness and hitting that final note. I was like, this woman deserves all of the awards. Give her a Grammy, give her an Oscar, give her like a full EGOT right now because I just adore her. I'm so
apparently
excited.
they're going really, really hard for those Oscar nominations this year because obviously last year there was a sense that because the first movie was so well received, they could potentially take them out. But it's also when you know the second movie is coming, you've got to wait for that. So apparently like especially Cynthia Erivo, apparently like their studio is just throwing everything behind getting her the win for the Oscar this year. And it might happen.
I mean, that showcase I think is a perfect marketing thing, even though it was done very well.
Like the campaign
incredibly
has to start now. That's the thing. If you that's we know about Oscar campaigns, but you can't be too overt with it. You have to sort of you have to breadcrumb it now and then go really hard the 2 months leading up to it. So I think that's what we're seeing now, and like well deserved, I would say to that.
So well deserved. Anyway, those were kind of the biggest ones. The Grammy Awards are on February 1st of next year, so we've got a little bit of time to wait for that.
Okay, so we need to talk about All's Fair, the new Ryan Murphy show starring Kim Kardashian and a whole list of A-list actresses. So obviously in the lead up to the show, we talked a lot about it, especially because we had all the lead cast on the show.
Yes. Now, Laura, you interviewed them. We did a special on that last week. You were away last week in Hawaii.
Which I was.
Yes, you were in Hawaii swimming with manta rays. And I was so excited when you came back because I was like, we have to talk about this because over the weekend and since the release of All's Fair, the critics have absolutely panned this show.
Yes.
And there's so much to unpack here.
Yes, it was an interesting rollout because they obviously did a huge amount of worldwide press. They also had this huge world press tour where in multiple countries they had these big red carpets. The whole cast was there. The looks were happening. It was this huge thing. It felt like the rollout of a movie premiere or the rollout of like a huge prestige drama who was in its final season. And an interesting point of that we did bring up in our cast interview episode is that they didn't provide me or any other journalist I know with screeners for the show beforehand. Or any kind of real detail. You know how usually for an interview they also send you through like the full press pack with like breakdowns of the cast characters and little tidbits, and they'll also often give you like info about episodes happening later on. Like we really were just going in blind, and the whole kind of point of the press run with both the red carpet and the interviews was like, look at all these incredible women together and like how fabulous they look and how great they are, not talking about the show.
Yeah, and so my theory, I think I've got two theories on this. One, now everybody knows now that this has been panned. Like Rotten Tomatoes, it had 0% on Rotten Tomatoes for ages. It's now up to 5%, but it's got 60% from audiences. I've got two theories on why they didn't give you the screeners. One, they knew it was terrible and they didn't want people saying that it was terrible. Two, they knew it was terrible, but they wanted to have this massive PR push when everybody read the reviews because, like Kim Kardashian said in her Instagram post, all these people saying that they hate it is actually sending more people to watch it.
Exactly. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if they think it's bad in terms of like they're like, oh, we'll just release a bad show because like a huge amount of money went into this. Ryan Murphy obviously has an incredible TV legacy. A lot of the actresses in this are critically acclaimed. We've got Naomi Watts, Glenn Close, Sarah Paulson, Niecy Nash, Tiana Taylor, and then the guest stars are, kind of Brooke Shields and Grace Gummer and all these incredible actresses. So I don't think they were like, they're putting out a bad show. I just think they knew that it wasn't going to be critically acclaimed. It's not the kind of show that critics would give a fair review to. I'm saying that though, I'm sure the critics did think it was bad because there's a lot bad about it now that I've watched the first two episodes. But they wanted it to be on the glamour of the show rather than the content of the show.
Yeah.
So yes, when it came out, it was almost astounding how
some
of the reviews played out of saying like this, New York Times, The Guardian, all these huge publications saying the worst show we've ever watched, 0 stars, which a lot of them are like, we never do this. We've done about 5 times before, 0 stars. This is unwatchable. And then that started to make a huge amount of headlines. And then this week it came out, now that the show's been out for over a week and they have all the data, that All's Fair had 3.2 million views, making it Hulu's biggest scripted series debut in 3 years.
Which is really interesting. And it kind of speaks to, just because critics don't like it doesn't mean it's not going to be a successful show. I think part of this is a lot of the people who wrote articles on this and, critiqued it, we're talking about how Ryan Murphy does a lot of these camp productions. That's kind of his brand. He does this stylized drama very, very well. So the whole "it's so bad it's good" thing kind of comes into play with that. And I do think there is that kind of campiness, and it really reminds me of like those big soap operas like Days of Our Lives or Home and Away. They've all been running for years and years and they are really bad but still have been going on for a long time. Even those TikTok movies, those really, really bad TikTok movies that like pop up and it's like, you've never seen acting so terrible, but for some reason it's very addictive.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's part of it. But when I watched it, it's really bad.
Here's the thing. I don't think it's as clear cut as the narrative that critics hate it and audiences love it. And I think that is definitely what the cast is trying to put out there. And what is, if you just look at Rotten Tomatoes, which again is a very flawed system, so you can't just go off that with like the critic score being so low and the audience being higher. Just because people watched the first episode doesn't mean that they loved the show.
Yes.
I think what people are drawn to is the spectacle and the drama around it. And that's why the trailer also broke records when it was released. And it's because you have all this blend of big name actresses actresses and drama and glamour, and people are just so desperate to see. And there was so much controversy about Kim Kardashian being the lead actress over all these other established actresses, and the fact that she was playing a divorce lawyer based off the divorce lawyer who represents her in real life and her divorces and all these things. Like, it was a perfect melting pot of headlines, drama, that people wanted to watch it. So I think it's more about this people being drawn to the spectacle.
And also seeing Kim in that leading role, because she's not an actress. Let's be very, very honest here. I think she did an okay job. I don't think she's a very good actress, but she's got to sort of hold her ground with these really incredible actresses. However, Naomi Watts, who is a good actress, I don't think she was great in it. Like, a lot of the people were not, and I think it had to do with the dialogue of it, which is quite difficult. But I do agree with you. It is the spectacle. People you've got two camps. You've got people who really, really love Kim K and respect what she does. And then you've got those people who just like hate her and want to see her fail and are watching it because they hate her. The hate watch. We've talked a lot about the hate watch. But it's also interesting timing because she failed the bar again.
Yeah, and I don't think you could kind of put those two things together of the timing and everything, but it's just obviously it is
funny
a thing.
Timing.
It is obviously with her announcement saying that she failed the bar exam that she could say, I'm not a lawyer yet, but I do play a well-dressed one on TV. It is kind of interesting. I don't think you can say yet whether or not the show is successful. Like, her very successful debut, but there's still many episodes to go. Like, this show is going to be dropping weekly now. It's going to run through until December. So I think you can have a huge amount of people turn in for a premiere. We've seen this with other shows. A huge amount of people turn to a premiere just to see, and then you have audience drop off.
Well, so it's the retention, right?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they have that. But I also kind of don't really agree with the sentiment that I've heard of the whole like, oh, but this is just what Kim Kardashian does. And I guess that was kind of helped with she put up the Facebook post where she was screenshotting all the bad reviews, and she was being like, if the caption was a joke about like, watch like the best reviewed show on television, and it had like all these different screenshots of all the bad reviews, and also reviews about how bad she is in general.
Well, that's the reason it makes me think that it's all part of the marketing of this movie, and this is part of the plan all along.
Yeah, I know.
Like, it makes me think that, because if she was genuinely like, I'm really, really good, I really, really tried, and then people were saying she was bad, that would like really hurt your feelings. But the fact that or maybe I guess she doesn't hurt her feelings because it's water off a duck's back for her.
She always likes to be the one who's in on the joke and stuff, and that's a big thing we see about her. What I think is interesting, though, is this idea of what people are saying about like, oh, they just wanted the spectacle. They just wanted people to watch it. They don't care about the product. And I don't believe that's true, because that doesn't kind of match up with how Kim Kardashian has become famous and built her business. It's like with Skims. Like, Skims has a lot of big kind of marketing ploys, like the Merkin or the Pierce nipple bra and all these kind of things that are big marketing ploys, and that gets attention to the brand. But once you're in the brand, like, the Skims product is very, very good.
Yes.
And that, I think that's a lot with the Kim Kardashian stuff, is like with her makeup range and her skin range and all these things, is that it's very much like she'll do these crazy things to promote it. But she has this really good team around her that make the product really good. So I don't believe she would go into All's Fair, or that Ryan Murphy would go into All's Fair saying, we're just going to create a big spectacle and make the show bad. I think they tried to make the show good, looking by the amount of money they spent on it, by the cast they got. And I actually think, like, after I've watched the first 2 episodes now, that there's a lot of good there. And this happens a lot with film and TV, is that all the pieces of the puzzle are there. They just didn't come together. Like, the idea is good. I think the idea is like very interesting. The character setup is so interesting, with Sarah Paulson's Carrington Lane being like ostracized from the girl group of Naomi Watts and Kim Kardashian, and how they started the law firm and how they left it, and the whole thing with the Kim Kardashian's secretary and her husband, and the different stories that they bring in with the different women coming with their divorces, and basing it off Laura Wasser, who's really fascinating as this like big divorce attorney in Hollywood. Like, all the pieces are there. The actors are there. The setup is there. But it just doesn't, when you put them all together, it reads almost like a first draft of a script.
The characters are very flat.
Yeah.
The dialogue is
I feel like sometimes the characters are good. Like Sarah Paulson, when Carrington Lane is like begging Naomi Watts and Kim Kardashian's characters to take her with them to their new law firm, and they say no and work away. Like, this heartbroken look on her face. I'm like, oh, Sarah Paulson's so good. But then the next scene is her just screaming, fuck, fuck, fuck at them. And you're like, oh, it's just not, like, it feels like it should have this really biting dialogue, and it doesn't.
This is the line. I actually pulled up, because the dialogue, a lot of the critics are like putting quotes in other dialogue. So I had to look up some of the best dialogue pieces in it. So this is the one you're talking about. In honor of your big milestone, this is when they have the 10-year, they're celebrating 10 years. In honor of your big milestone, I present you with a fruit basket, organic and lightly brushed with salmonella and fecal matter. Eat a melon ball, then maybe you can all give the Ozempic, your mainlining, a rest, you fat, treacherous launches.
See,
I actually kind of love that line.
This is an example of, I think it just needed a few more goes around in the editing room, in the scripting room, is that like that bit starts off so good. But then, like, it just then goes to Sarah Paulson just screaming at them. And I was like, it needed to be cut. It needed a cut.
Yeah.
And so I kind of understand that. But it almost feels like they tried to also make a show for TikTok. Like they you know how like a lot of like music executives now say that you have to make songs for TikTok. It's the only way songs will really take off. And so you have to have a built-in kind of part of the song that will become a trending sound on TikTok. And now we're seeing this evolution where TV shows like Ryan Murphy's All's Fair are also being made for a TikTok algorithm.
Absolutely.
But I think sitting down to watch 45 minutes of what is essentially a bunch of clips made for a TikTok algorithm is a lot harder in practice than watching just these like 30-second clips on your phone while you're doing something else.
Yeah, it's interesting. I actually love that line. I can definitely see people picking up on that and doing like these really camp reenactments. I can see the Halloween costumes. I can see the funny satire, like satirical pieces. All of that, I can see that. But in terms of longevity and retention, I think you're right. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to nail it.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting. It's almost like it's this practice in how bad can you make something and still maintain an audience.
And I also, exactly. And speaking of the audience there, I don't know if it fits into this it's so bad it's good.
Well, a lot of people are
trope
saying
of
that.
TV, but I think that they're more so watching it to be part of the conversation.
Absolutely.
I don't think a lot of them are sitting down to watch it in the way that people would watch. I mean, I don't watch it like this, but like a lot of people say they like watch Emily in Paris because they think it's so bad it's good. But that is a very light kind of fluffy show, whereas that has all these kind of like this like kind of fantasy whimsicalness about it. Whereas I don't know if All's Fair has tapped into that enough to keep this audience past the first couple of episodes.
It's quite cringe. I don't know. I found it really cringy.
I also I think a major misstep of this whole thing, and as previously said, I do like this woman. This isn't coming from a negative place because I did read all the comments around like, do we hate this show or do we just hate Kim Kardashian?
Yeah, I've seen that too.
I don't, but I just don't think that she should have been the lead of this show.
I tend to agree with you because I think
she should have been in it, but it is so jarring watching her. And I think it's a good example of how sometimes you can't hard work your way out of a situation. Because I do believe, not only just from what she said on this podcast when she came on it, but I just do know about everything about how the way she works and she lives that she would have put like 100% into this.
Yeah, I don't doubt that she tried really hard to do this.
Doesn't come across.
Acting is one of those things that you obviously have to train to be an actor. You have to train to be a performer. There is a lot of skill involved in it, but there is a lot also of just pure talent and raw talent. And, you know, being able to have that, tap into those emotions and portray something that's really authentic on screen. That's why even if you don't know nothing about acting, you can tell when someone is a bad actor.
And it's just so much harder when she's
someone acting.
And it's like with American Horror Story when she was in that, like when she was just in her first few opening scenes by herself, it's a bit like, oh, she's good at this. One thing obviously is that she looks great on camera and she's only playing these kind of versions of herself of this highly glamorized kind of like ice princess sort of thing. And so in those moments she's fine, but once you put her opposite another actress who's a lot more talented than she is and a better actress, like we saw in American Horror Story, especially when they brought the full cast in to work with her, she really sticks out. And I think that's what we're kind of also seeing now, because now even like across from Naomi Watts, I know people are saying it's not Naomi Watts' best role and it's not because of the writing, but she can do a lot with very little. So can Sarah Paulson. So can Niecy Nash. I think so good.
Niecy Nash was the best part of this whole show.
She's incredible.
She's in terms of what they were given and their characters, Niecy Nash was the best, even though she kind of got given that sassy black woman, right, which I think is a little stereotypical and done. But even with that so little, she did the most out of everyone.
Yeah,
that would be
exactly.
my interpretation of it.
And it's also so interesting. So, yeah, nothing bad there about Kim, but I just think it makes the show a bit more unwatchable, and they should have had her as a supporting character. So every time she popped up, it was like a bit of a fun thing. Like, oh, there's Kim Kardashian again. And she just comes in and does a few lines and leaves. And I know she wants to be the lead. I know Ryan Murphy really, really wanted her to be the lead. And at the end of the day, it's his show and his universe, and he gets to pick who is there. But I feel like that kind of damaged the show. And also, I think the fact that they've almost doing a dual like crossover every week as a crossover with the new Kardashians. I don't know if you're watching that because All's Fair came out. The new season of the Kardashians came out, and a big storyline for the Kardashians this year is about Kim being on this show and the behind the scenes of it. So now on the Kardashians, we have Glenn Close in her pajamas.
This is really meta, guys.
Drinking cocktails. We have Sarah Paulson dancing through Kris Jenner's house, and we have Sarah Paulson pretending to be a Kardashian to the camera. And Naomi Watts is also there. Like, all of a sudden, the Kardashians has this wild cast of supporting actresses that are Hollywood's like most, critically acclaimed women.
This is why I think Ryan Murphy's trolling us. I think Ryan Murphy, Kim Kardashian and Kris Jenner.
Yeah, and Kris Jenner is an executive producer on All's Fair as well.
They're trolling us because they're all EPs of this. Obviously, Ryan Murphy created it. Kim Kardashian knows what the hell she's doing. She knows how to build a brand. Maybe they're doing this on purpose. They have we're like little puppets under their string, and they're just going, look, we're going to make you watch everything. And then we watch Keeping Up so we can see what's going on behind the scenes. Do they think that? And then we get to see all of these actors. I think this is something meta. This is like a something that Ryan Murphy's doing to see how far he can push it. I don't know. That's what I'm getting.
I do think, I think it's not so much trolling, just that they know the power of the marketing and getting your inbuilt audience over to another product and all these things that people talk about behind the scenes of content creation. And I think it just goes to show that, like, it is so hard to launch a new TV show at the moment.
Hard.
And there's so much out there, and to get people to watch it, that you need spectacle television. I feel like spectacle television has almost taken over hate watching. There's too much to hate watch now, so it needs this huge spectacle to get people to watch, and that's what All's Fair has done.
I think what's disappointing to me is that while this show has this audience and it's got all of this, a massive amount of views, shows like I Love LA, which you guys recommended on Weekend Watch, and I went and watched it after you recommended it. It's such a good show.
It's so good,
and those sorts of shows get pushed to the back, and then we don't get that really good quality content.
Exactly. There are so many shows that come out every year that are a little bit quieter, that don't have a gimmick, that only do one season, or they maybe get picked up as a second just as kind of like a favor to someone. And that's a lot of people are saying too, like, it's so hard to get TV made right now, and there's not a lot of room for new voices to come through because, all the money and time and everything has been spent on like spectacle shows like this. There's also the other argument that this is why like a lot of studios make these big popcorn blockbusters, is that they make a popcorn blockbuster movie with a superhero in it. They make billions of dollars, and then they can go and make all their other little side projects that go on to win like Oscars and things.
It's very Margot Robbie of them.
Exactly.
Very Margot Robbie.
Exactly.
Margot Robbie doing
make the
all of those
blockbuster,
things. Yeah.
Do the Chanel ad to pay for your tiny movie to be made. Yeah. So, well, we're only 3 episodes out now of All's Fair. We've got till December, and I guess we'll see if the audience sticks around.
I'd love to know what the spillers think of it. You guys have to tell us what you guys think.